How many people are living in your mind right now? Maybe it is someone who hurt you, ignored you, disappointed you, or walked away from your life. They may not even be thinking about you anymore, yet they continue to occupy your thoughts every single day. You replay conversations, imagine different outcomes, and wonder what they think about you. Slowly, they begin taking up space in your mind that belongs to your peace. Islam teaches that your heart and mind are precious. They were not created to be controlled by people. They were created to remember Allah and live with purpose. The more you allow people to live in your head, the less room you leave for peace, gratitude, and growth. Today, we will understand how to free your mind from people and reclaim the peace Allah wants for you. 1. Are you give away your peace without realizing it? One of the easiest ways to lose your peace is to keep giving your thoughts to people who no longer deserve that space. Many women do this without even realizing it. Someone hurts them, disappoints them, ignores them, or walks away. And although that person is no longer physically present, they continue living in their mind. Islam teaches us that the heart and mind are precious gifts from Allah. They were not created to be occupied by endless thoughts about people. A woman of value begins to recognize this pattern. She notices how often her mood changes because of someone she is constantly thinking about. The person may not be speaking to her, contacting her, or even remembering the situation, yet they continue affecting her emotions. This is how peace is quietly lost, not through major events, but through repeated thoughts that keep reopening emotional wounds. When she becomes aware of this, she starts to understand that protecting her peace begins with protecting her attention. Many people believe that thinking about a situation repeatedly will somehow solve it. They replay conversations, analyze words, and imagine different outcomes. But most of the time, this thinking does not create solutions. It only creates emotional exhaustion. A calm woman begins to notice that every time she replays the same memory, she feels the same pain again. The event happened once, but through constant thinking, she experiences it over and over. A woman of value understands that this habit is costing her peace. She realizes that she is carrying something that is no longer happening. The pain is not coming from the present moment. It is coming from her attachment to the memory. This awareness becomes powerful because it helps her separate what is happening now from what happened before. Once she sees that difference, she can begin the process of letting go and returning her focus to the present. Sometimes a woman gives away her peace because she is searching for answers that do not exist. She wants to know why someone acted a certain way, why they changed, or why they left. She believes that if she could just understand everything, she would finally feel at peace. But life does not always provide those answers. Islam teaches us that not every question will be answered in this world. A woman of value learns to accept this reality. She understands that waiting for complete understanding can keep her trapped. Instead of moving forward, she remains emotionally tied to something that is already over. A calm woman realizes that peace does not always come from understanding everything. Sometimes peace comes from accepting that Allah knows what she does not. This trust allows her to stop searching endlessly and start focusing on what she can control. That shift alone can bring enormous relief to the heart. Another way peace is lost is through imagined conversations. A woman may spend hours thinking about what she should have said, what she wishes someone understood, or how she would respond if she had another chance. These conversations feel real in her mind, but they never actually happen. A woman of value becomes aware of how much energy this habit consumes. She realizes that while she is mentally arguing, explaining, or defending herself, real life is continuing around her. Opportunities for growth, gratitude, and healing are passing by unnoticed. A calm woman chooses to bring her attention back to reality. She understands that the mind can easily become trapped in imagined scenarios. By refusing to live in those scenarios, she protects her peace. She gives herself permission to stop carrying conversations that exist only in her thoughts and return her energy to the life Allah has placed in front of her. There is also a hidden emotional cost to constantly thinking about people. Every thought carries energy. When a woman spends most of her day focused on someone who hurt her, she has less energy available for herself. She has less energy for worship, personal growth, family, goals, and healing. A woman of value begins to see this clearly. She realizes that she has been investing emotional resources into something that gives nothing back. This realization is not about becoming cold or uncaring. It is about becoming aware. A calm woman understands that her energy is limited and valuable. She begins to ask herself whether the thoughts she is entertaining are helping her grow or keeping her stuck. This simple question changes everything. It helps her become more intentional with her focus and more protective of her peace. Islam teaches us that the heart finds rest in the remembrance of Allah. Yet many people spend more time remembering what others did than remembering Allah. A woman of value reflects deeply on this. She notices that when her thoughts revolve around people, her heart becomes restless. But when her thoughts return to Allah, her heart begins to settle. This does not happen because her circumstances suddenly improve. It happens because her focus changes. A calm woman understands that attention is powerful. Whatever she focuses on grows stronger in her mind. If she constantly focuses on hurt, the hurt grows. If she focuses on Allah, trust begins to grow. This shift in attention becomes one of the most important habits in her healing journey. It allows her to reclaim the space that people have been occupying and fill it with something far more meaningful. As she continues this process, she starts noticing small changes. The situations that once controlled her thoughts begin to lose their power. The memories still exist, but they no longer dominate her mind. A woman of value understands that healing is not forgetting. It is remembering without being emotionally controlled. A calm woman no longer feels the need to revisit every detail. She accepts what happened and chooses to move forward. This choice brings freedom. She is no longer carrying people who are no longer carrying her. Instead, she is carrying lessons, wisdom, and growth. This perspective transforms her relationship with the past. She stops seeing it as something she must relive and begins seeing it as something she has learned from. In the end, peace is often lost gradually and regained gradually. A woman of value understands that every moment she spends dwelling on people is a moment she cannot give to herself, her faith, or her future. She realizes that protecting her peace requires protecting her thoughts. A calm woman does not allow everyone access to her mind simply because they once had access to her life. She becomes more intentional about where her attention goes. She understands that her heart belongs to Allah, and her mind should serve her growth rather than her suffering. When she finally stops allowing people to live rent-free in her thoughts, she discovers something beautiful. The peace she was searching for was never waiting in another person. It was waiting in the space she created when she finally let them go. Pelsofon, overthinking people steals your energy. Many women do not realize how much energy they lose simply by thinking too much about people. The mind becomes busy replaying conversations, analyzing behaviors, and imagining different possibilities. At first, it may feel harmless. You tell yourself you are just trying to understand what happened, but slowly, this habit begins to drain you emotionally. Islam teaches that your energy is a trust from Allah. It should be used for growth, worship, healing, and purpose, not wasted on endless mental repetition. A woman of value begins to notice that the more she overthinks people, the more exhausted she feels. Even when nothing is physically happening, her mind remains active. She carries emotional tension all day because her thoughts never rest. This constant mental activity steals peace quietly. It leaves her feeling emotionally tired without understanding why. Once she becomes aware of this pattern, she starts realizing how important it is to protect not only her heart, but also her mental energy. Overthinking people often creates emotional exhaustion because the mind was not designed to carry endless emotional analysis. A woman may spend hours trying to understand why someone changed, why they acted cold, or what they truly meant by certain words. The problem is that most of these thoughts lead nowhere. A calm woman begins to recognize this truth. She notices that despite all the thinking, nothing actually changes. The situation remains the same, but her energy becomes weaker. A woman of value understands that thinking is only useful when it leads to clarity or action. When thoughts only repeat confusion, they stop becoming helpful. They become harmful. This realization changes how she treats her mind. Instead of allowing every thought to stay, she becomes more selective. She begins asking herself whether her thinking is solving something or simply keeping her emotionally trapped. There is also a hidden sadness that develops through constant overthinking. The mind becomes so occupied with people that it leaves little room for gratitude, creativity, or personal growth. A woman may wake up thinking about someone and go to sleep thinking about them again. In between, she loses opportunities to focus on her own life. A woman of value reflects deeply on this. She realizes that while she has been mentally chasing people, she has been neglecting herself. Her goals, her peace, her connection with Allah, and her own emotional healing have been pushed aside. A calm woman begins to understand that where attention goes, energy follows. If all her attention is placed on people, then very little remains for her own growth. This awareness becomes a turning point because it helps her redirect her focus back to herself. Sometimes overthinking people comes from the belief that if you think enough, you can prevent pain. The mind tries to prepare for every possibility. It imagines different outcomes, searches for hidden meanings, and constantly stays alert. But this habit does not create safety. It creates anxiety. A woman of value understands that trying to mentally control every situation only increases emotional pressure. She realizes that no amount of thinking can guarantee a certain outcome. A calm woman begins learning to release the need to mentally manage everything. She accepts that some uncertainty is part of life. This acceptance immediately reduces emotional tension because she is no longer carrying responsibilities that belong only to Allah. She understands that her job is to act with wisdom, not to predict every possible future. Islam teaches tawakkul, trust in Allah after making effort. Overthinking is often the opposite of tawakkul because it keeps the heart trapped in fear and uncertainty. A woman of value reflects on this deeply. She notices that when her trust in Allah weakens, her overthinking increases. She starts depending on mental control instead of spiritual trust. A calm woman slowly shifts this pattern. Instead of feeding every fearful thought, she turns toward dua and remembrance. She reminds herself that Allah sees what she cannot see. This reminder does not remove all uncertainty immediately, but it softens the pressure inside her heart. She no longer feels responsible for controlling every outcome. This shift gives her emotional relief that endless thinking never could. Another reason overthinking steals energy is because it keeps the body in a constant state of emotional stress. Even when sitting quietly, the heart feels restless because the mind never fully relaxes. A woman may feel tired even after resting because mental exhaustion affects the entire body. A woman of value becomes aware of this connection. She notices how heavy she feels after spending too much time trapped in thoughts about people. A calm woman begins protecting her peace more intentionally. She creates boundaries around what she allows herself to mentally revisit. She understands that not every thought deserves attention, simply because it appears in her mind. This discipline becomes part of her healing. Instead of feeding every thought, she learns to release what no longer serves her peace. As she practices this, her mind slowly becomes quieter. The situations that once consumed her thoughts lose their intensity. A woman of value understands that healing is not about never remembering people again. It is about no longer giving them unlimited access to her energy. A calm woman learns to think with balance instead of obsession. She allows herself to acknowledge emotions without becoming trapped inside them. This emotional maturity changes how she experiences life. She begins to feel more present, more focused, and more emotionally available for what truly matters. Her energy returns to her because she is no longer giving it away through endless mental attachment. In the end, overthinking people steals far more than time. It steals emotional strength, peace, clarity, and the ability to fully live in the present. A woman of value understands that her mind is a sacred space. It was not created to endlessly replay pain or carry people who no longer belong there. Calm woman becomes intentional with her thoughts. She redirects her energy toward healing, growth, worship, and gratitude. She understands that every moment spent obsessing over people is a moment taken away from her own life. When she finally learns to release the habit of overthinking, she experiences something beautiful. The return of her energy, her clarity, and the peaceful mind that Allah always intended for her to have. 3 Aflon. Most of what you fear exists only in your mind. One of the greatest causes of emotional exhaustion is not what is actually happening in your life, but what is happening inside your mind. Many women spend hours worrying about situations that have not happened, conversations that never took place, and opinions that may not even exist. The mind begins creating stories, filling in missing information, and imagining worst-case scenarios. Islam teaches us to live with awareness, not assumptions. A woman of value starts to recognize how often fear is built on imagination rather than reality. She notices that many of the things that disturb her peace are not present in front of her. They exist only in her thoughts. This realization is powerful because it helps her separate facts from fears. A calm woman understands that just because a thought feels real does not mean it is true. Once she learns this lesson, she begins freeing herself from countless worries that never deserved so much space in her heart. Many fears begin with a simple question. What if they do not like me anymore? What if they are thinking badly about me? What if something goes wrong? The mind takes that one question and builds an entire story around it. A woman may spend hours emotionally reacting to a situation that has never happened. A woman of value becomes aware of this pattern. She notices how quickly assumptions can become emotional realities. The body reacts as if the imagined problem is real, even when there is no evidence to support it. A calm woman learns to pause and ask herself an important question. What do I actually know? And what am I only imagining? This simple habit creates clarity. It helps her stop feeding fears that are built on uncertainty rather than truth. Sometimes the mind becomes attached to fear because it believes fear creates protection. A woman may think that if she worries enough, she will be prepared for disappointment. She believes that expecting the worst will somehow soften the pain if something bad happens. But this rarely works. Instead of protecting her, fear steals her peace long before any problem arrives. A woman of value understands that carrying tomorrow's worries today only doubles her burden. A calm woman begins to trust that she can handle challenges if they come, rather than suffering through them in advance. This shift changes how she experiences life. She stops preparing emotionally for disasters that may never happen and starts living more fully in the present moment. Another common fear comes from wondering what people think. A woman may spend countless hours analyzing someone's words, behavior, or silence. She imagines hidden meanings and creates explanations in her mind. The truth is that most of these explanations are guesses. A woman of value realizes that she cannot truly know what is happening inside another person's heart. Only Allah has that knowledge. A calm woman stops trying to solve mysteries that are not hers to solve. She understands that constantly guessing what others think creates emotional stress without providing any real answers. This awareness allows her to let go of unnecessary mental burdens and focus on what is actually within her control. Islam teaches us to avoid suspicion because suspicion often grows from assumptions rather than facts. A woman of value reflects deeply on this teaching. She understands that many of her fears are not based on reality, but on interpretations created by her mind. A calm woman learns to challenge these interpretations. Instead of immediately believing every fearful thought, she examines it carefully. She asks whether there is evidence for it, or whether it is simply an emotional reaction. This habit protects her peace. It prevents her from becoming trapped inside stories that exist only in her imagination. Over time, she becomes more grounded and less controlled by fear. Fear also steals attention from the blessings that already exist. When a woman spends all her time thinking about what could go wrong, she struggles to appreciate what is going right. Her focus becomes trapped in imagined problems while real blessings pass unnoticed. A woman of value recognizes this cost. She realizes that fear is not only creating stress, it is distracting her from gratitude. A calm woman intentionally redirects her attention. She chooses to focus on what Allah has already given her, instead of obsessing over what might happen in the future. This shift immediately changes the emotional atmosphere of her life. As her trust in Allah grows, many of her fears begin losing their power. She understands that not everything is meant to be known in advance. She realizes that certainty belongs to Allah alone. A woman of value stops demanding guarantees from life. Instead, she develops tawakkul. A calm woman understands that peace does not come from knowing every outcome. It comes from trusting the one who controls every outcome. This trust gives her emotional stability. She no longer feels responsible for predicting every possible future. She allows herself to rest in the knowledge that Allah sees what she cannot see. In the end, many of the fears that consume the mind never become reality. A woman of value understands that she has spent enough time suffering through possibilities instead of living in the present. She chooses a different path. A calm woman learns to distinguish between facts and fears, between reality and imagination. She refuses to let assumptions control her emotions. Instead, she places her trust in Allah and focuses on what is real, meaningful, and within her control. When she stops believing every fearful thought, she discovers something beautiful. Much of the prison she lived in was built by her own mind, and peace begins the moment she walks out of it. For and blow you cannot control other people. One of the most exhausting battles a woman can fight is the battle to control people. She may not realize she is doing it, but every time she overthinks someone's behavior, tries to change their feelings, or constantly worries about their choices, she is carrying a responsibility that was never hers. Islam teaches us a powerful lesson. Every human being has free will, and only Allah has complete control over hearts. A woman of value eventually understands that much of her stress comes from trying to manage things that are outside her control. She wants people to understand her, appreciate her, choose her, or behave differently. But no amount of thinking, worrying, or emotional effort can force another person to change. This realization may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is also incredibly freeing. A calm woman learns that peace begins when she stops carrying responsibilities that belong to Allah and starts focusing on what she can actually control. Many women spend years trying to make people act the way they believe they should act. They want someone to communicate better, show more appreciation, become more committed, or treat them differently. While these desires may be understandable, the problem begins when their happiness becomes dependent on those changes happening. A woman of value notices how much emotional energy is wasted waiting for others to become different. She realizes that her life has been paused while she waits for someone else to change. A calm woman understands that growth begins when she accepts reality instead of fighting it. She cannot force maturity, love, loyalty, or understanding into another person. She can only control how she responds. This shift allows her to reclaim her energy and stop investing it in battles she was never meant to win. One of the biggest sources of overthinking is trying to understand why people do what they do. Why did they leave? Why did they change? Why did they stop caring? Why did they act that way? These questions can keep a woman trapped for months or even years. A woman of value eventually realizes that understanding someone completely is not always possible. People often act based on experiences, emotions, and motivations that you may never fully know. A calm woman learns to accept this uncertainty. She understands that her peace cannot depend on receiving explanations from everyone who disappoints her. Sometimes closure does not come from answers. Sometimes it comes from acceptance. This acceptance allows her to stop chasing understanding and start focusing on healing. Islam teaches tawakkul, trust in Allah, and part of that trust involves accepting human limitations. A woman of value understands that she cannot control another person's heart. She cannot force someone to love her, appreciate her, respect her, or stay. Those things are beyond her authority. A calm woman reflects deeply on this reality. She stops measuring her worth by how others respond to her. Instead, she focuses on her own actions, intentions, and character. This shift brings emotional relief because she is no longer carrying the impossible burden of controlling another human being. She begins to understand that her responsibility is effort, not outcome. Trying to control people often disguises itself as concern. A woman may tell herself that she is only trying to help, guide, or protect someone. While those intentions may be sincere, there comes a point where concern becomes control. A woman of value learns to recognize the difference. She understands that offering advice is one thing, but forcing outcomes is another. A calm woman respects the fact that every person has their own journey with Allah. She realizes that growth cannot be forced. People must make their own choices, face their own consequences, and learn their own lessons. This understanding allows her to release unnecessary emotional pressure and trust Allah with what she cannot change. When a woman stops trying to control others, she gains something much more valuable: control over herself. She begins paying attention to her own reactions, habits, and choices. A woman of value understands that self-control is far more important than controlling others. She asks herself questions like, how am I responding? What can I improve? How can I protect my peace? A calm woman shifts her focus inward. Instead of constantly monitoring other people, she starts developing herself. This redirection of attention creates growth because her energy is finally being invested where it can actually produce results. There is also tremendous peace in accepting reality. Many women suffer because they keep arguing with what already exists. They want reality to be different. They want people to be different. They want circumstances to change immediately. A woman of value learns that resistance often creates more pain than the situation itself. A calm woman stops fighting reality and starts working with it. She accepts what is present, makes the best decisions she can, and leaves the rest to Allah. This acceptance does not mean she approves of everything. It simply means she refuses to waste her peace arguing with things she cannot control. In the end, one of the greatest acts of emotional freedom is accepting that you cannot control other people. A woman of value understands that every person belongs to Allah, not to her. Their choices, emotions, and actions are ultimately beyond her control. What she can control is her own heart, her own response, and her own relationship with Allah. A calm woman focuses on these things and discovers something beautiful. The moment she stops trying to manage everyone else's life, she finally has enough energy to fully live her own. That is where peace begins. That is where freedom begins. And that is where her heart finally learns to rest. Your heart was meant to be attached to Allah. One of the greatest reasons people lose their peace is because they attach their hearts to things that were never meant to carry them. They become emotionally attached to people, relationships, approval, attention, or expectations. When those things change, their peace changes with them. Islam teaches something beautiful. The heart was created for Allah first. Everything else in life is temporary, but Allah remains constant. A woman of value begins to understand this truth through experience. She notices that every time she places her deepest attachment in people, she eventually feels disappointed, anxious, or afraid. Not because people are bad, but because people are human. They change, make mistakes, and leave. A calm woman realizes that her heart is searching for stability in places where stability does not exist. This awareness becomes the beginning of a powerful transformation. She starts redirecting her attachment away from what changes and toward the one who never changes. Many women believe their restlessness comes from losing someone, but often the deeper issue is where their heart was attached. When the heart becomes overly attached to people, every change feels like a crisis. Every delay feels personal. Every disappointment feels overwhelming. A woman of value reflects on this honestly. She realizes that her suffering is not always caused by the situation itself. Sometimes it is caused by the level of attachment she developed. A calm woman begins to understand that attachment and love are not the same thing. Islam allows love, but it teaches balance. The heart should love people without depending on them completely. This distinction changes everything. It allows her to care deeply while still protecting her peace. The heart naturally seeks something to depend on. If it is not attached to Allah, it will attach itself to something else. It may become attached to a relationship, a dream, a person's approval, or even an image of how life should look. A woman of value notices this tendency within herself. She understands that attachment is not the problem. Misplaced attachment is the problem. A calm woman begins asking herself important questions. What occupies most of my thoughts? What affects my emotions the most? What am I afraid of losing? These questions reveal where her heart has settled. Once she sees that clearly, she can begin bringing her heart back to where it truly belongs. When a woman strengthens her attachment to Allah, something remarkable begins to happen. She still experiences challenges, disappointments, and uncertainty, but they no longer have the same power over her. A woman of value understands that her foundation has changed. Her peace is no longer resting on people behaving a certain way. It is resting on her trust in Allah. A calm woman starts feeling emotionally safer because her stability comes from something permanent. This does not mean she stops caring about people. It means her emotional survival no longer depends on them. That difference creates tremendous peace within the heart. Islam teaches us that hearts find tranquility through the remembrance of Allah. This is not simply a beautiful phrase. It is a reality that many women discover through experience. A woman of value notices that when she spends hours thinking about people, her heart becomes restless. But when she spends time remembering Allah, making dua, and reflecting on His wisdom, her heart becomes calmer. A calm woman understands that attention is powerful. Whatever receives the most attention often gains the most influence. When Allah becomes the center of her heart, everything else begins finding its proper place. The chaos starts settling because her focus has shifted. Another beautiful effect of attaching the heart to Allah is freedom from constant approval seeking. A woman who depends on human approval lives in emotional uncertainty because people are inconsistent. Their opinions change. Their support comes and goes. A woman of value learns that she cannot build her worth on something so unstable. A calm woman finds comfort in knowing that Allah knows her intentions, her struggles, and her efforts. She no longer needs everyone to understand her. She no longer feels pressured to prove herself constantly. This freedom brings a deep sense of emotional relief that many people spend years searching for. As her connection with Allah grows stronger, she also becomes stronger during difficult moments. Challenges still happen, but they do not break her in the same way. A woman of value understands that her relationship with Allah gives her perspective. She trusts that every hardship carries wisdom, even when she cannot immediately see it. A calm woman no longer sees every disappointment as the end of the story. She knows that Allah's plan is larger than her current emotions. This trust allows her to navigate life with more patience, resilience, and inner stability. In the end, the heart was never meant to carry the weight of complete attachment to people. It was created to know Allah, trust Allah, and find peace in Allah. A woman of value understands that the more she attaches her heart to temporary things, the more restless she becomes. But the more she attaches her heart to Allah, the more secure she feels. A calm woman learns that people can be loved, appreciated, and valued without becoming the center of her emotional world. She gives that place to Allah alone. And when she does, she discovers a peace that is deeper than approval, stronger than attachment, and more stable than anything this world can offer. 6. To letting go creates space for growth. One of the hardest things a woman can do is let go. She holds on because she cares, because she invested time and emotions, or because she hopes things will eventually change. Even when something is causing her pain, a part of her continues believing that if she tries harder, everything will finally work out. Islam teaches that not everything you lose is meant to be held on to forever. Sometimes what keeps you stuck is not the situation itself, but your refusal to release it. A woman of value eventually realizes that growth requires space. When her hands are full of the past, she has little room to receive what Allah wants to place in her future. A calm woman begins to understand that letting go is not giving up. It is creating room for healing, peace, and transformation. This realization becomes the first step toward a healthier and more balanced life. Many women fear letting go because they believe they will lose something valuable. They focus on what they are leaving behind instead of what they might gain. A woman of value learns that growth often requires sacrifice. Every stage of growth in life involves releasing something that no longer serves you. A calm woman reflects on how plants must shed old leaves to make room for new growth. In the same way, the heart sometimes needs to release attachments, disappointments, and emotional burdens before it can grow stronger. This process feels uncomfortable because change always carries uncertainty. But she begins to realize that staying trapped in the same pain is often more damaging than moving forward into the unknown. When a woman refuses to let go, Much of her mental energy remains tied to the past. She constantly revisits old conversations, old disappointments, and old emotions. Her mind becomes occupied by things that no longer belong in her present life. A woman of value notices how exhausting this becomes. She realizes that, while she is mentally living in yesterday, she is missing opportunities that exist today. A calm woman understands that growth requires presence. She cannot fully embrace her current blessings while carrying the weight of unresolved attachments. Letting go frees mental space that can be used for learning, healing, and personal development. This shift allows her to become more engaged with her own life, rather than remaining emotionally tied to what has already passed. Islam teaches us that Allah can replace what is lost with something far better. Yet many people struggle to believe this because they are focused on what they can see. A woman of value reflects on this deeply. She understands that holding on to something simply because it is familiar can prevent her from receiving something better. A calm woman begins trusting Allah's wisdom more than her own attachment. She accepts that she may not understand everything immediately, but she believes that Allah sees what she cannot see. This trust gives her the courage to release what is no longer serving her. Instead of clinging to what was, she opens herself to what could be. Another beautiful thing that happens when a woman lets go is that she begins reconnecting with herself. Often, emotional attachments consume so much attention that she forgets her own needs, goals, and growth. A woman of value notices how much of her energy has been invested in other people. Once she lets go, that energy starts returning to her. A calm woman begins exploring her own interests, strengthening her relationship with Allah, and investing in her future. She discovers parts of herself that were hidden beneath emotional stress and attachment. This self-discovery becomes one of the greatest rewards of letting go, because it helps her build a stronger and more authentic life. Letting go also creates emotional freedom. A woman who is constantly carrying the past feels restricted. Her emotions remain connected to people and situations that may no longer be part of her life. A woman of value understands that freedom is not about forgetting. It is about no longer allowing the past to control the present. A calm woman learns that she can remember experiences without remaining emotionally trapped by them. This ability transforms her relationship with difficult memories. They become lessons rather than chains. She carries the wisdom forward while leaving the emotional burden behind. As her heart becomes lighter, gratitude begins growing in places where resentment once existed. A woman of value notices blessings she could not see before because her attention was consumed by pain. A calm woman becomes more appreciative of what Allah has given her in the present moment. She realizes that growth is not only about gaining new things. It is also about seeing old blessings with fresh eyes. This gratitude creates a positive cycle. The more she appreciates what she has, the less power the past holds over her. Her focus naturally shifts toward hope, growth, and possibility. In the end, letting go is not about losing, it is about making space. A woman of value understands that every attachment, disappointment, and emotional burden occupies space within the heart. If that space remains filled with the past, there is little room for healing, wisdom, peace, and new opportunities. A calm woman chooses to trust Allah enough to release what no longer belongs in her life. She understands that growth requires room to breathe. When she finally lets go, she discovers that Allah was not taking something away from her. He was creating the space needed for her to become stronger, wiser, and closer to Him than she had ever been before. People will come and go throughout your life. Some will support you, some will hurt you, and some will leave lessons behind. But none of them deserve permanent space in your mind at the cost of your peace. The more you focus on people, the more you lose yourself. The more you focus on Allah, the more you find yourself. Stop replaying the past. Stop carrying people who are no longer carrying you. Protect your mind, protect your heart, and trust Allah with what you cannot change. Peace begins the moment you stop letting people live in your head and start letting Allah guide your thoughts instead.